She did her friend a favor, but was shocked when she saw who the client was she had to serve. I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's jump into today's story. The following morning, Emma couldn't shake the feeling of embarrassment. She had tried to move past the awkward encounter with Liam, but the image of his calm demeanor and the way he had listened to her with such patience kept coming back to her. It was unlike anything she had experienced before. She wasn't used to being listened to, really listened to, without the usual small talk or expectations of impressing someone. She had spent the night in a daze, replaying the conversation over and over in her mind. She still couldn't believe she had walked out of there without even apologizing properly. Her phone buzzed, snapping her back to reality. It was a text from Jenny. Hey Emma, I know you're probably still hiding from the world after your blind date disaster, but I need a favor. Can you cover for me tonight? I have to take care of some things. Emma frowned at the message. She knew Jenny had a tendency to ask for last-minute favors, but this time, Emma wasn't sure she was up for it. Still, she didn't want to let her friend down. Fine, she typed back. But I'm not in the mood for another awkward date. I'll do it, but this is the last time. As Emma prepared for her shift that evening, she couldn't help but wonder what Liam was doing. She had no idea where he was or even what he was like beyond the brief interaction they'd had, but something about him stuck with her. He was different from the guys she usually met. He wasn't arrogant or pushy. He didn't seem to care about her background or her financial struggles. She had never met anyone like him, and the thought of him made her stomach flutter in a way she couldn't explain. Later that evening, she arrived at the restaurant, her second-hand dress and scuffed shoes making her feel like a fish out of water again. She couldn't help but feel the familiar sense of discomfort as she walked through the grand doors, the chatter of well-dressed patrons and the clink of expensive silverware filling the air. This wasn't her world. She was just there to help out, to fill in for Jenny, and that was it. She couldn't afford to let herself think too much about anything else. There, sitting in the same spot where she had met Liam, was the very same man, Liam Parker, the CEO of the tech company she had never thought twice about before. The man she had made such a fool of herself in front of just the night before. Her heart raced. She didn't know whether to walk up to him or avoid him entirely. But there he was, sitting at the same table, just like before. He looked up as soon as she approached, and she could feel her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. Emma couldn't help but feel a bit caught off guard. She wasn't sure if he remembered her or if he was just being polite, but she could feel the weight of the situation. She was the girl who had run out on him, the one who had mistyped his name and bolted before he could explain himself. I didn't expect it either, Liam replied, his eyes softening. But it's good to see you again. Are you okay? His question caught her off guard. No one had asked her that in a long time, not with such genuine curiosity. For a moment, she felt like she was back in that awkward restaurant from the night before, where she had felt small and out of place. But now there was something different. Maybe it was the way he looked at her. Or maybe it was just that he didn't seem to judge her for who she was. I'm fine, she said, trying to act casual. Just here to work. What about you? What brings you here tonight? Liam smiled, his eyes never leaving hers. I'm here on business, but now that you mention it, I'm glad I ran into you. I've been thinking about our conversation last night. Yeah, Liam said, leaning back in his chair. You were different from the usual crowd. I don't know if you realized it, but you made me laugh. And it's been a while since I've laughed like that. Emma felt her breath catch in her throat. What about you? What brings you here tonight? Liam smiled, his eyes never leaving hers. I'm here on business. But now that you mention it, I'm glad I ran into you. I've been thinking about our conversation last night. Yeah, Liam said, leaning back in his chair. You were different from the usual crowd. I don't know if you realized it, but you made me laugh. And it's been a while since I've laughed like that. Emma felt her breath catch in her throat. I didn't expect you to think I was someone else, but I get why you did. Emma wasn't sure what to say. She had already embarrassed herself once, and now, here he was, sitting right in front of her, treating her like she wasn't a complete idiot. It was more than she had expected from anyone, let alone the CEO of a tech company. "Look, I'm sorry for what happened," she said, feeling the weight of her words. "I didn't mean to run out on you. I don't know what happened." She couldn't believe what he was saying. A part of her still wanted to hide, to run out of there just like she did the night before. But another part of her felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, an unexpected connection. "You're not just saying that to make me feel better, are you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam shook his head. "No, I'm serious. You're refreshing. And I think we got off on the wrong foot last night." "Oh," Liam smiled again, his eyes warm. "I'm not mad, and you don't have to apologize. We both made a mistake, but I'd like to make it right." For the first time, Emma felt like she might actually have a chance at something real. Not just a random encounter, but something that could change her life. But for now, all she could do was look at him and wonder what he meant by "make it right." Instead, he seemed genuinely interested, like he wanted to know more about her, not just the version she had presented on that chaotic blind date. Liam had promised to make things right, but Emma couldn't figure out what that meant just yet. Was he going to offer her a job? Or maybe he just wanted to help her out of pity. But there was no pity in his eyes. It was a different kind of look, a quiet, steady gaze that seemed to see her for who she really was, and not just a waitress struggling to make ends meet. The next few days were uneventful. Emma went about her usual routine, working long shifts at the restaurant, dealing with rude customers, and trying to hold on to the small dreams she had for a better life. But in the back of her mind, Liam lingered. She kept telling herself that their encounter was nothing more than a strange twist of fate, but she couldn't help but feel that it meant more than just a coincidence. When she had bumped into him at the restaurant, she had seen something in him that felt different from the usual wealthy, aloof men she had encountered in her life. On the 5th day after their meeting, Emma was working the lunch shift when she noticed a familiar face walking through the door. It was Liam. She froze for a moment, unsure of how to react. He smiled at her and waved, making his way to the same table where they had first met. Emma's heart skipped a beat as she nervously walked over to greet him. "Hey, Emma," Liam said, his smile warm and inviting. "I didn't think I'd see you today, but I'm glad I did." "I didn't expect this either," Emma replied, trying to keep her composure. "What brings you in today?" Liam leaned back in his chair, his eyes still focused on her. "I wanted to make good on my promise," he said, his voice serious yet kind. "You see, I've been thinking about you, and I don't want to just offer you some kind of handout. I want to offer you something more, something that could change your life." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected him to say that. Was this it? Was he offering her something she couldn't refuse? Her mind raced as she tried to process his words. Liam's eyes sparkled as he spoke again. "I've been working on a project with my company, something that could really use someone with your skills. It's a creative venture, something a bit different from the usual corporate stuff we do, and I think you'd be perfect for it. I'd like to offer you a position." Emma blinked in disbelief. "Wait, you want to hire me?" she asked, almost laughing at the absurdity of it. "But I'm just a waitress, Liam. I don't have the kind of experience you're probably looking for." "Duh." Liam shook his head, his smile never fading. "You're more than just a waitress, Emma. I saw something in you the other night. Your creativity, your passion. I know you're capable of more than what you're doing right now. I want to give you a chance to prove that to yourself and to the world." For a moment, Emma didn't know what to say. She had spent so long believing that she was stuck, trapped in a life she didn't want. But here Liam was, offering her a way out. It felt too good to be true, and yet she couldn't deny the excitement building in her chest. "I don't know what to say," Emma whispered, feeling overwhelmed. This is more than I ever imagined." Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. "You don't have to say anything right now," he said softly. "Just think about it. I'm here when you're ready to make a decision." Emma felt a lump form in her throat. She had always dreamed of doing something bigger with her life, of creating something meaningful. But could she really take a chance on this? Could she leave behind everything she knew and step into the unknown? It was terrifying, but for the first time in a long while, she felt a spark of hope. As she stood up to leave, she looked at Liam one last time, her heart racing. "I'll think about it," she said, still unsure of what the future held. Thank you, Liam. Oh, Liam smiled, his eyes warm and encouraging. Take your time. I know you'll make the right decision. As Emma walked away, she couldn't help but wonder if this was the turning point she had been waiting for. Was this her chance to change everything? Or was she just dreaming? Only time would tell, but for the first time in a long time, she was ready to find out. The next few days were filled with uncertainty for Emma. She couldn't stop thinking about Liam's offer. The idea of leaving her old life behind, the life she had always known, was both exciting and terrifying at the same time. She had never imagined that someone like Liam, a successful tech CEO, would believe in her enough to offer her a chance like this. She spent hours lying awake at night, tossing and turning, her mind racing with questions. Was she really ready for this? Could she take the leap? What if she failed? But as much as she worried, she couldn't shake the feeling that this might be her one shot at something bigger, something more than just scraping by. She had always dreamed of having a career that meant something, something she could be proud of. But that dream had always felt out of reach. Now, it felt like it was right in front of her. The only thing standing between her and that dream was herself. By the time the weekend rolled around, Emma still hadn't made a decision. She had spent every moment trying to figure out what she was going to do, and yet the answer still seemed elusive. She knew she couldn't keep putting it off forever, though. She had to make a choice. That's when Jenny called her. "Hey Emma, how's it going?" Jenny's voice was cheerful, but Emma could hear the concern underneath. She had been the one to push Emma into this blind date mess in the first place, and she probably knew that Emma was still thinking about Liam. "I don't know, Jenny," Emma said, her voice tinged with frustration. "I'm just so torn. Liam's offer is incredible, but I don't know if I'm ready for it. I mean, I've been working as a waitress my whole life. I don't have the skills he's probably looking for. I'm scared that I'll mess it up." Oh, Jenny was quiet for a moment, and Emma could almost hear her thinking. Finally, she spoke. "Emma, you're always doubting yourself. You've got so much more potential than you give yourself credit for. You just have to take a chance. Sometimes, the biggest opportunities in life come when you least expect them." Emma sighed, feeling the weight of Jenny's words. "I know, it's just hard to believe that someone like Liam would want someone like me. I'm just a waitress. Jenny, I don't even know if I can handle something like this." "That's just it, Emma," Jenny replied. "You're not just a waitress. You're someone who has dreams, who works hard, and who doesn't give up. You've got the qualities that make people successful. Liam saw that in you. So why can't you see it in yourself?" Emma paused, letting Jenny's words sink in. She had never really thought about it that way. All her life, she had been told that she wasn't good enough, that she didn't have what it took. But maybe, just maybe, Jenny was right. Maybe she was more capable than she gave herself credit for. After hanging up with Jenny, Emma sat for a long time, staring at the ceiling. Her heart was still racing, but now it was a different kind of feeling. She wasn't sure what was going to happen if she took the job, but she knew one thing for sure: she couldn't keep playing it safe. She had to take the risk. She had to believe in herself. The next morning, Emma walked into the restaurant for her shift, her mind made up. She wasn't sure if this was the right decision, but she was ready to try. She would go to Liam's office that afternoon and tell him she was ready to take the job. No more doubts, no more second-guessing. She was going to take a chance on herself. When the time came, she walked into Liam's office with a new sense of determination. Liam looked up from his desk as she entered, a smile spreading across his face. "Hey, Emma," he said, standing up. "I'm glad you came." Emma smiled nervously but stood tall. "I've been thinking about your offer," she said, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "And I've decided to take it. I'm ready to start something new. I'm ready to see what I'm capable of." Liam's eyes lit up with approval as he walked around his desk to shake her hand. "I'm glad to hear that. You won't regret this. We're going to do great things together." For the first time in a long while, Emma felt like she was standing on the edge of something incredible. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew she was ready to face it. And no matter what happened next, she was finally stepping into the life she had always dreamed of. As she left his office, Emma couldn't help but smile. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was someone who was about to change her own life, and maybe even the world. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind for Emma. She dove headfirst into her new role, working alongside Liam and his team on the creative project he had promised. At first, the work seemed overwhelming. She had never worked in such a high-pressure environment before, and every day felt like a new challenge. But with each passing day, Emma felt herself growing more confident. She was learning new skills, meeting new people, and slowly, she was beginning to believe that maybe, just maybe, she was capable of more than she had ever imagined. Liam was a constant presence, not just as her boss but as a mentor. He was always patient, offering guidance when needed but never pushing too hard. He trusted her, which gave her the space to grow. She had never experienced this level of support before. Most of her life, she had been on her own, figuring things out as best as she could. But here, in this new world, Liam made her feel like she belonged. It wasn't just the work that was different. The office was filled with energy, creativity, and a sense of purpose that she had never experienced at her old job. The team was tight-knit, and everyone worked together toward a common goal. Emma couldn't help but be inspired by the people around her, by the way they cared about their work and each other. She had always felt like an outsider, but now, for the first time, she felt like she was part of something bigger than herself. One afternoon, as she was brainstorming ideas for a new project with her colleagues, Liam walked into the room. He smiled when he saw her, his eyes lighting up in a way that made her heart skip a beat. He had been supportive from the beginning, but lately, there was something different about the way he looked at her. It wasn't just professional admiration anymore. There was something more personal, something deeper. "Great, actually," she replied, trying to keep her cool. "The team's been amazing, and I feel like we're really making progress." Liam nodded, his eyes not leaving hers. "I've noticed. You've really stepped up, Emma. You're doing great work." "Oh?" Emma felt a blush creeping up her neck. It wasn't the first time Liam had complimented her, but this time, his words felt heavier, more meaningful. She looked away, trying to hide her reaction. Liam smiled, taking a step closer. "Your best is more than enough." He paused for a moment, and when he spoke again, his tone had shifted. "Emma, I've been thinking—" Emma looked up, meeting his gaze. She felt a flutter in her chest, unsure of what was coming next. "What's on your mind?" Liam hesitated, then seemed to make up his mind. "I know we've been working together for a while now, and I've gotten to know you better. I can see how passionate you are about your work, and how much potential you have. But I also see something else in you. Something that's harder to put into words. It's not just about the work anymore. It's about you, your strength, your drive. You're someone I admire, Emma." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected this. She had always admired Liam, but hearing him say these words, directed at her, was something completely different. She wasn't sure how to respond. She had spent so much time keeping her emotions in check, convincing herself that this was just about the job. But now, it felt like something else was stirring between them. Liam smiled again, his eyes soft. "You don't have to say anything, Emma. I just want you to know that I see you, really see you, and I'm glad you're here, not just as a colleague, but as someone I truly respect." The room seemed to fade away, leaving just the two of them standing there. Emma's mind raced, her emotions tangled. She had never imagined that someone like Liam would feel this way about her. She had always thought of him as out of reach, someone too important, too successful for someone like her. But now, as she stood there, feeling the weight of his words, she couldn't help but wonder if maybe there was something more between them. She took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "I'm glad I'm here too, Liam," she said, her voice steady. "And I'm grateful for everything you've done for me. I never thought I would get this chance, and I never thought I'd be in a place where I could feel like I belong. But here, with you and the team, I feel like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be." "Oh?" Liam looked at her with a soft smile, his eyes filled with something unspoken. "You're exactly where you need to be, Emma. And I'm glad you're here." The connection between them was undeniable now, a bond that had been growing slowly, quietly, over the weeks. It wasn't just about the work anymore. It was about trust, respect, and something deeper that neither of them was ready to name just yet. But as Emma stood there, facing Liam, she couldn't help but feel that this was only the beginning of something far greater than she had ever imagined. As the weeks passed, Emma found herself settling into her new life. The job at Liam's company had turned out to be everything she had hoped for and more. She was learning so much, not just about the work but also about herself. Every day felt like a new adventure, full of challenges that pushed her to grow in ways she had never imagined. The team was supportive, and Liam, though still her boss, had become a mentor and a constant source of encouragement. There were days when she doubted her abilities, but Liam was always there, offering advice, guidance, and, most importantly, belief in her. The more Emma worked alongside Liam, the more she realized how much she admired him. His intelligence, his drive, and the way he treated people with kindness and respect, it was all so different from what she had expected from a billionaire CEO. He wasn't like the others. He was real, down to earth, and genuinely cared about the people around him. As they spent more time together, she found herself drawn to him in ways she hadn't anticipated. There were moments when their conversations felt different, more personal, as if the professional walls they had built between them were starting to fade. One afternoon, after a long day of meetings, Liam invited Emma to join him for a drink at a nearby bar. "It's been a crazy week," he said, his voice tired but warm. "I thought you could use a break." Emma hesitated for a moment, but the idea of spending some time with him outside of the office felt appealing. She had never really seen Liam as anything more than her boss, but the way he had been acting lately made her wonder if there was something more between them. She wasn't sure if it was just her imagination, but there were moments when their conversations felt charged, like there was an unspoken connection. Maybe this drink would help her figure out what was really going on. When they arrived at the bar, the atmosphere was relaxed, the soft hum of conversation blending with the clinking of glasses. Emma felt a little out of place, but Liam made her feel comfortable, as he always did. He ordered their drinks, and they found a quiet corner to sit in. They started talking about work at first, but before long, the conversation shifted to more personal topics. Emma found herself telling him things she hadn't shared with anyone, her childhood, her dreams, her fears. It felt so easy to talk to him, like he genuinely cared. Liam listened intently, his eyes never leaving hers as she spoke. "You've got a lot of strength, Emma," he said after a moment, his voice softer than usual. "I don't think you give yourself enough credit." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her at his words. "I don't know," she said, feeling vulnerable. "Sometimes, it feels like I'm just pretending to be someone I'm not. Like I'm just waiting for everything to fall apart." "Oh," Liam reached across the table, gently placing his hand over hers. "You don't have to pretend with me," he said, his voice serious now. "You're doing great, Emma. You've come so far in such a short amount of time. Don't let your fears hold you back." Emma looked down at their hands, her heart racing. She wasn't sure what it was, but there was something about the way Liam was looking at her that made her feel like she was the most important person in the room. She had always been the one to hide her emotions, to keep everything to herself. But in that moment, with Liam, it felt like she could finally be honest. She didn't have to hide anymore. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she met his gaze. Was this really happening? Was there something more between them? She wasn't sure what to say, so she just sat there, her mind racing. But before she could speak, Liam stood up, a serious look crossing his face. "Let's get out of here," he said, his tone different now, more urgent. "I don't want to wait any longer." Confused, Emma followed him out of the bar, her heart beating faster. What was going on? They walked to Liam's car in silence, and Emma couldn't help but feel like something big was about to happen. When they reached the car, Liam turned to her, his expression intense. "Emma," he said, his voice low, "I've been thinking about you, about us, and I think I'm ready to take the next step. I don't want to just be your boss anymore. I want to be something more." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had been wondering if this moment would come, but hearing him say it out loud made it all feel so real. "What do you mean?" she whispered, unsure if she was ready for this. Liam stepped closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "I want to be with you, Emma. Not just in a professional sense. I want to see where this goes. I want to be part of your life. If you'll let me." For a moment, Emma just stood there, stunned. This wasn't what she had expected. But as she looked into his eyes, she realized that she felt the same way. She had never imagined that someone like Liam, someone so successful and so out of her league, would want to be with her. But here he was, offering her everything she had ever dreamed of. And for the first time, She felt like she was ready to take a chance on love. Without thinking, she reached up, placing her hand on his chest. "Yes," she whispered, "I want that too." Liam smiled, his face lighting up with a mixture of relief and joy. "You won't regret it," he said softly. "I promise." As they stood there, in the cool night air, Emma knew that this was the beginning of something new, something exciting and unknown. But for the first time in her life, she was ready to face whatever came next, as long as Liam was by her side. The days that followed were filled with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation for Emma. She had never imagined her life would change this quickly. But now, with Liam by her side, everything seemed different. She was no longer the unsure waitress who had been struggling to make ends meet. Now, she was stepping into a world of opportunities, and it felt as though the life she had always dreamed of was finally within her reach. As the weeks passed, Emma's confidence grew. She continued working alongside Liam, taking on new responsibilities and expanding her skills. Every challenge she faced became an opportunity for growth, and with Liam's constant encouragement, she found herself excelling in ways she hadn't expected. It was clear to everyone around her that she was no longer the same person who had walked into Liam's office all those weeks ago. But despite all the progress she was making in her career, there was still something on Emma's mind, the growing feelings she had for Liam. She had never allowed herself to entertain the idea of being in a relationship with someone so powerful, so successful. But the more time they spent together, the more her feelings for him deepened. It wasn't just about his wealth or his success. It was about the way he treated her, the way he believed in her when no one else did. Liam, for his part, seemed to be just as invested in their connection. He was always there, whether she needed help with a work problem or just someone to talk to. He never treated her like she was less than anyone else, and that was something Emma wasn't used to. He saw her for who she truly was, not just as an employee, but as a person. One evening, after a particularly long day at the office, Liam invited Emma out for dinner. "I thought we could use a break," he said with a smile. "Just the two of us." Emma was taken aback at first. Their relationship had always been professional, but lately, things had been shifting. She couldn't deny the attraction she felt toward him, but she wasn't sure where it would lead. Still, she agreed to meet him, eager for the chance to spend more time with him outside of work. The restaurant Liam chose was small and intimate, with soft lighting and a quiet atmosphere. As they sat down, Emma felt her nerves kick in. It was one thing to be around Liam in the office, where there was always work to focus on. But this was different. They were alone, and there was no professional facade to hide behind. "I'm glad we could do this," Liam said, his voice warm as he leaned back in his chair. "We've both been so caught up in work lately. I thought it would be nice to have some time to ourselves." Emma smiled, feeling a flutter of nerves in her chest. "Yeah, it's nice. I guess I didn't realize how much I missed, just talking, you know. Without all the work pressure." 261. Liam nodded. "I know exactly what you mean. It's easy to forget what really matters when you're always focused on the next project, the next goal. But tonight, it's just us." They talked about everything and nothing about their childhoods, their hopes, their dreams for the future. It felt natural, easy, like they had known each other far longer than they actually had. For the first time, Emma allowed herself to truly enjoy the moment, to let go of the doubts and fears that had always held her back. As the evening wore on, the conversation turned more personal. Liam reached across the table, his fingers lightly brushing against hers. "Emma, I know we've been spending a lot of time together, but I need to tell you something." Emma looked up, her heart skipping a beat. She could see the seriousness in his eyes, and for a moment, her breath caught in her throat. "What is it?" Liam hesitated for a moment, as if weighing his words carefully. "I don't want to rush anything, but I've been thinking about this for a while now. I care about you, Emma, more than just as a colleague, more than just as someone I work with, and I need to know if you feel the same way." Emma's heart raced as his words sank in. She had never imagined Liam could feel this way about her. She had always seen him as someone out of her league. But now, hearing him admit his feelings, she realized that maybe, just maybe, she had been wrong to doubt herself. I do," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "I care about you too, Liam, more than I can say." Liam smiled, his eyes softening with relief. "I'm glad to hear that," he said, his voice gentle. "Because I want this, Emma. I want to see where this goes. I want to be with you, if you'll let me." For a moment, Emma didn't know what to say. She had never been in a relationship like this before, never with someone so successful, so put together. But in that moment, she knew that it didn't matter. She was ready to take a chance, to open her heart to someone who had proven time and again that he believed in her. Without thinking, Emma stood up, walking around the table to where Liam Saturday. She took his hand in hers, feeling the warmth of his touch, and in that instant, everything else seemed to fade away. "I'm ready," she whispered. "I want to be with you too." Liam's smile was wide, his eyes full of happiness as he pulled her into a gentle embrace. "I promise, Emma, I'm going to make this worth it. We'll figure this out together." As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, Emma couldn't help but feel like this was the beginning of something extraordinary. The life she had once dreamed of was no longer just a fantasy. It was real, and it was waiting for her. As the weeks passed, Emma and Liam's relationship began to blossom in ways neither of them had expected. What had started as a professional connection had slowly evolved into something more, something neither of them could ignore. Emma had never imagined that her life would take such a turn. She had always been the quiet, reserved girl, working hard to keep her head above water. But now, with Liam by her side, everything seemed different. She had found not just a mentor, but a partner, someone who saw her potential and encouraged her to go after her dreams. Their days were filled with both work and moments of quiet companionship, where they could just be themselves without the weight of expectations. Liam continued to support her as she grew in her role, and Emma was beginning to see a future she had never allowed herself to dream about before. For the first time, she felt like she belonged, not just at work, but in the world they were building together. However, with the growth of their relationship came new challenges. It was no longer just about navigating a workplace relationship or building trust. Emma had begun to realize that her feelings for Liam were deeper than she had initially thought. And it wasn't just about being grateful for the opportunities he had given her. She was falling for him, and it scared her. She had never allowed herself to be vulnerable, to open up and let someone in like this. But with Liam, it felt different. One evening, as they were walking through the city, Liam turned to her with a serious expression on his face. "I've been thinking," he began, his voice soft but steady, "about us, and I think it's time we take the next step. I don't want to keep things in the safe zone anymore. I want to be with you, not just as colleagues, but as partners in everything." Emma stopped walking, her heart skipping a beat. "Liam," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "I've never been in a relationship like this before. I don't know how to do it. I'm scared I'll mess it up." "Oh, quote." Liam reached for her hand, his touch warm and reassuring. "You don't have to be scared, Emma," he said gently. "I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for us to be real with each other. We've built something incredible together already, and I think we have a chance to build something even more special. If you're willing to take that step with me." Emma looked up at him, her heart racing. She had spent so much of her life hiding behind walls, afraid to let anyone in. But with Liam, it felt like she was finally ready to trust someone. The way he looked at her, the way he had supported her without hesitation, it made her realize that maybe it was time to let go of the fear and step into the unknown. She took a deep breath and squeezed his hand. Liam's face lit up with a smile, and he pulled her into a tight embrace. "I'm so glad," he whispered. "You don't know how much this means to me. Together, we can do anything." Over the next few months, Emma and Liam continued to grow both professionally and personally. The bond between them deepened, and as they worked together, they found new ways to support each other and face the challenges that came their way. Emma had never felt so alive, so connected to someone, and it wasn't just about the job anymore. It was about building a life together, a future that was no longer just a dream. Their relationship wasn't without its challenges, of course. There were moments of uncertainty, of doubt. But they faced them together, with open hearts and minds. They communicated, they compromised, and most importantly, they trusted each other. It was a relationship built on respect, admiration, and an undeniable connection that neither of them had ever experienced before. One evening, as they were sitting on the balcony of Liam's penthouse, watching the city lights twinkle below, Emma leaned against him, feeling completely at peace. I can't believe how far we've come, she said, her voice soft. It feels like just yesterday I was working at that restaurant, unsure of what my future held. Liam kissed the top of her head, his arm wrapped around her. You've come so far, Emma, he said quietly. And you're only just getting started. I'm proud of you, and I'm grateful for you more than you know. Emma smiled, feeling warmth flood her chest. I never thought I'd find someone like you, Liam. I never thought I'd have the chance to be this happy. Liam's eyes softened as he looked at her. You deserve every bit of this, Emma. You've worked hard, you've fought for what you want, and now you're living the life you've always dreamed of, and I'm lucky to be part of it. In that moment, as they sat together, their future stretched out before them, full of possibilities, full of promise. Emma knew that the journey they had started together was just the beginning of something incredible. And as they held each other close, she realized that no matter what challenges they faced, they would face them together. With Liam by her side, Emma finally understood what it meant to truly live, to take chances, to love fully, and to believe that everything she had ever dreamed of was possible. And she couldn't wait to see what the next chapter of their story would bring. As the months passed, Emma and Liam's bond only grew stronger. They had been through so much together, both personally and professionally, and each experience had deepened their connection. They were no longer just colleagues, or even just a couple. They had become partners in every sense of the word. The challenges they faced, whether at work or in their personal lives, only seemed to bring them closer. They had built something special, something real, and Emma could no longer imagine her life without Liam by her side. Their relationship had become the foundation for everything Emma had dreamed of. No longer did she feel like the outsider, the girl who didn't quite fit in. With Liam, she felt seen, valued, and loved. It was more than she had ever thought possible, and it was everything she had always wanted. The life she had once thought was beyond her reach was now her reality, and she owed it all to the leap of faith she had taken all those months ago. One morning, as they sat together in the kitchen, sipping coffee and talking about their plans for the day, Liam suddenly looked at Emma with a serious expression. "There's something I've been meaning to ask you," he said, his voice soft but filled with intensity. Emma looked up, her heart skipping a beat. She knew this tone. It was the same tone he had used when they first talked about taking their relationship to the next level. Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "Emma, I've spent the last few months with you, and I can't help but think about the future. About the life we could have together. I want you to be with me truly, with me in every sense of the word. I don't want to imagine my life without you by my side. You've already changed my life in so many ways. And now I want to ask you, will you marry me?" The words hung in the air between them, charged with emotion, and Emma's heart swelled with happiness and disbelief. For a moment, Emma could only stare at Liam, her mind racing. This wasn't something she had ever expected, not in a million years. She had come so far from the girl who had once doubted herself, the girl who had never thought she was worthy of someone like Liam. But now, here he was, asking her to spend the rest of her life with him. And in that moment, she knew with every fiber of her being that she wanted nothing more than to say yes. With a smile that could light up the world, Emma nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, Liam. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I love you." Liam's face lit up, his smile wide and full of relief as he stood up, pulling her into a tight embrace. "I love you too, Emma," he said, his voice filled with joy. "You're everything I've ever wanted, and I'm so lucky to have you." The two of them stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, completely lost in the moment. It felt like the world had stopped spinning, and all that mattered was the promise they had just made to each other. As the days went by, they began to plan their future together. The wedding was just the beginning of what would be a long and beautiful life filled with love, laughter, and shared dreams. They had been through so much to get to this point, and now they were ready to face whatever came next, side by side. Emma's life had changed in ways she had never imagined. From the moment she had met Liam, everything had fallen into place. She had gone from being unsure and uncertain to being someone who was loved, supported, and capable of achieving anything she set her mind to. With Liam, she knew she could conquer the world. On their wedding day, as Emma walked down the aisle, her heart swelling with emotion, she couldn't help but think about how far she had come. The girl who had once struggled to make ends meet, the girl who had doubted herself, was now standing in front of the man she loved, ready to start a new chapter of her life. Liam's eyes met hers as she reached the altar, and in that moment, it felt like everything they had been through had led them to this very point. The love between them was undeniable, and as they exchanged vows, Emma knew that this was the life she had always dreamed of, a life filled with love, respect, and a partner who saw her for who she truly was. As they walked down the aisle together, hand in hand, Emma couldn't help but smile. This was just the beginning of their journey. The future was full of endless possibilities, and with Liam by her side, she knew they could face anything together. And so, their story continued. A story of love, growth, and the belief that with the right person by your side, anything is possible. In this touching and heartwarming tale, we follow Emma, a young woman who struggles to find her place in the world, as she embarks on an unexpected journey through love, self-discovery, and success in the world of millionaires. This story is not just another one of those typical millionaire stories. It's a real, raw look at how love and hard work can transform one's life. Starting from a blind date mix-up with a millionaire CEO, Emma slowly uncovers a world of opportunities she never thought possible. As she navigates this new path, she finds herself falling for the very man who once seemed so out of reach. These millionaire stories are full of twists, challenges, and moments of vulnerability, and Emma's story is no exception. Through persistence, love, and an open heart, Emma learns that anyone, no matter their background, can achieve greatness. As the story progresses, the depth of their relationship and mutual